Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming to our Tiny Beautiful Letter Project. Well, first of all, my name is Craig Bronner. I'm a proud president and founding member of the Lips Cedar community. And the Tiny Beautiful Letter Project really started with our production last year of Tiny Beautiful Things by Naya Bartolos and adapted from Cheryl Strayed's book, Tiny Beautiful Things. And with this project, what we did is that we have gathered anonymous letters from not only here locally in Deschutes County and Bend, but also nationwide. And I even had a letter that was sent to us from New Zealand. So we've gone abroad. If you didn't get a chance to, since we were only able to choose 15 letters for this reading today, I encourage you to take in our exhibit, the art gallery, where we have posted excerpts of additional letters. And the idea with this project was really in alignment to the themes of Rabbit Hole, which Rabbit Hole deals with a family going through tremendous loss and grief. But with that loss and grief, there's also hope and resiliency. And you'll see that evoked in the letters that we performed today. And with that, I just encourage you to sit, take in, and enjoy what we have to offer today as we give these anonymous letters a voice.
The story was that my great-grandfather lost his first wife when they were young. There he was, an immigrant Italian fruit seller in New York who barely spoke English and who now had 6 children to raise. The story is that relatives in Italy sent him a new wife, a teenager. What was her name? She was eventually called Zizi by the younger cousins. Zizi came over and raised those kids, my grandfather, Mike included. She kept house and had 2 children with my great-grandfather. The story goes that she used to sneak out during the day with her youngest, Lena, to go to the movies. She had barely any English, but she loved the movies. She wept when Vincent, one of the older boys, dove into the East River with friends, hit his head on a pier and died. In 2002, I visited Pearl and Park Row near the Brooklyn Bridge, where my great-grandfather had his fruit stand. There was nothing there then but high-rises. I had to imagine the wooden crates groaning with overripe melons, the lettered signs, canvas awning flapping in the morning breeze like a ship's sail. Downtown, the crater that held the remains of the World Trade Center was still smoking, if only in our hearts and minds. As I looked into the hole from the wooden ramp erected next to the site, I thought, somewhere in there are the ashes of the desk and chair I used when I worked for Marsh and McLennan on the 54th floor, the floor where the first plane struck. There are ashes, there are breezes, there are stories. Letter writer from Bend, Oregon.
We held hands, sharing a close bliss I had never known. A wondrous first love feeling, a gift of youth, a gift of an unfettered heart. We were 16, stretching our boundaries, flaunting our sense of invincibility. Call me when I'm 25, I joke, as playful banter wandered down a serious path. Life was easy, till suddenly what was unthinkable happened. I said goodbye, knowing my secret was best kept to myself. In the play of my mind, I played all the parts. I wrote all the lines. Like so many things I thought I knew, reality was I knew nothing. I loved him with nothing. No truth, no trust. given up the guilt and now know my own forgiveness. The struggle now falls to accept your rejection, to find a way to end the hurting, and to know a harsh truth. My child cries for her mother, not for me. A journey to find healing in my soul. Letter writer from Bend, Oregon.
I was a hair's breadth from my beloved's death, living in the liminal and physical realms with him as he quietly dangled in and out and between. The last hug he gave me came after a bit of messy trauma with his body. Wrapped in warm blankets and tucked into the narrow pale recliner in his room at Hospice House, he settled. A few moments later, he opened his eyes and asked me to come sit with him. I snuggled into the chair sideways, my arms wrapped around his neck, my face on top of his head, my lips offering soft kisses. His arms, long and ropey from weight loss, wrapped themselves so tightly around my body. So firm and tenderly he held me as I caressed him. His hold, as I feel it now, was like a transmission of the physical energy left in his body to my exhausted body. Some part of him knew he would be lying down soon, never to get upright again. That's what love looked like then. After getting help to bed that evening, he didn't rise again. 45 minutes, his grip offering a firm solace and a deeply needed gift. I understood only later he infused me with the last of his robustness so that I could be what I was for his dying. This and other gifts bestowed in the act of witnessing and witnessing his dying. This last exchange of oxygen and carbon, which we name death, were profound teachers for me. Letter writer from Bend, Oregon.
Dear Dad, you were a hard man. Not cruel all the time, not unloving exactly, but hard in the way weathered stone is hard, solid, unyielding. The softness in you seemed to leave early, as if it packed a small bag and slipped out the door years before the rest of you followed. You moved through life like a man, daring it to break you, shoulders square, jaw set, meeting the world with quiet defiance. Doctors, warnings, advice, none of it landed. You listened the way cliffs listen to the ocean, unmoved. You never stopped smoking. Not when the coughing deepened into something wet and hollow. Not when breathing sounded like air dragged slowly through gravity. Not even when the doctors spoke the words that make a room go still. Sometimes I wondered if part of you was trying to die. Not dramatically, not intentionally. Just in that stubborn way you had about everything. As if quitting would mean surrendering something the world had already taken from you. I was angry about that. Still am sometimes. I felt like watching someone walk toward the edge of a cliff and refuse to look down. But anger is only the surface of the truth. Beneath it is something heavier, something complicated and human. Because when the cancer finally hollowed you out, when the hospital room filled with machines and the tired rhythm of your breathing, I was there. That's the strange part of our story. We didn't always like each other. People don't say that about parents and their children, but it's true. Love and liking are different things. We had the first. The second came and went. Politics built walls between us. Conversations turned into arguments that went nowhere. Words knocking against each other like stones. And when the illness took hold of you, you became sharper. Illness doesn't turn people into saints. Sometimes it strips them down to the roughest edges. You said things that cut. Words that lingered in the room long after they were spoken. Maybe you were scared. Maybe you were angry. Maybe pain turns love into something jagged. I don't know. But I stayed. Even when the room felt heavy with everything we had never resolved. Maybe I stayed because of the kid I once was, the one who watched you drink too much some nights, the one who learned early that adults could be loud and broken and confusing all at once. I remember the smell of alcohol, the tension in the house like a storm about to break. I promised myself I would run far from that place someday. And yet, there I was again at the end. Under hospital lights that never really turn off. In a room that smelled like antiseptic and the ghost of smoke still clinging to your clothes. We were running out of time. Suddenly the arguments, the politics, the years between us felt small. Because at the end of everything, I was your person. Just me, your kid. Alone in that room when your breathing changed, that uneven rhythm that comes when the body begins letting go. I held your hand while the machines hummed beside us. Your skin was cooler than fragile. I played your favorite song, hoping something familiar might guide you home. The music filled the room softly, the way it does when words are no longer enough. I don't know if you heard it. I don't know if some part of you recognized it. But I hoped that somewhere inside the fog of pain and fading breath, something of your life was still reaching. Sometimes I think about the way you used to say my name. Hard as you were, there was always a softness in that moment, a small door that opened briefly before closing again. Maybe that was a piece of you that stayed. After you died, grief whispered its cruel questions. Maybe you should have said more, forgiven more, loved harder, somehow saved him. But the truth that returns to me is simpler than all that. I stayed. And maybe the truest form of love isn't fixing what's broken. Maybe love is simply choosing who you want to be when the story is ending. Letter writer from Chicago, Illinois.
There was just enough sun and shade to grow basil in the patch of dirt by the front door of our apartment. It's the only place that basil grows well for me, and the leaves and stems full and soft and fragrant. We didn't make any great effort to maintain it, a pint of water here and there, but it grew strong and tall. Remember how late at night, after the restaurant closed, after the bars closed, people would come over and we'd make caprese salads and pesto in the blender, just like my mom did? went that way for a long time. Late nights, lazy days, basil in the summer, rosemary in the winter. And then, one day, we woke up, and we were 30. And we decided we should do something. Well, I did. And I went to school to become a restaurateur. And somewhere, sometime later in San Francisco, we went our separate ways, and the divorce became final on Valentine's Day. And I only saw you once more after that, at my mother's funeral. You were so thin. 20 years later, my wife asked me about you. What do you suppose ever happened to her? I hadn't thought about you for a long time, and for that, I apologize. Had I happened upon you in the street, I'm not sure what I would have said. Maybe, how have you been? I might have told you about my wife, my kids, my career. I might have asked if you remember the basil plant by the front door, or the Chinese chicken pots, or how we stuffed all that junk into the spare room. I Googled you, because that's a thing you can do now. I wondered if you kept my name, and according to the obituary, you had. And apparently, you moved to Florida. I remember you always liked the sun. Letter writer from Bend, Oregon.
Dear individual, you can always tell when you're in the presence of a good poet. The perfectly unkept hair, the horn-rimmed tortoiseshell glasses, the classic black turtleneck sweater, and the long, slightly shaking fingers, etc. Okay, just kidding. You can't tell shit by those things. However, when suddenly one can hear the cicada's specific song, when one sees a moon with the intense luminosity of the sun, all the stars fainter yet more twinkling somehow, or when one feels the personality of a night sky with small puffs of smoke coming from rust-colored chimneys, perfect fall of snow on tool sheds and garages, the bright flakes that glisten even more sharply as a result of the piercing moon with its singular milky song of lyrical splendor and shine. When one is more aware suddenly of the world, of its beauty, its terror, its wonder, that's how you know you're in the presence of a poet. Rise on, Renee. Letter writer from Virginia.
Dear Mom, I have a secret. I often wonder if I'm anything like you. I don't think an 11-year-old can know who her mother is, though. When I think of you at that age, all I know is what I feel. You were soft and mushy. You smelled like cigarettes and coffee, and I knew you were beautiful, with long legs and bright blue eyes. You would laugh so loud, but your voice was calming and made me feel safe. Your hugs engulfed the entirety of me. When I'd sit on your lap, though, your leg hairs would feel like fire ants biting me. I remember the twin beds you and Dad had pushed together. Sometimes when I had a nightmare, I'd go to you and you'd always told me to go to Dad's side. But sometimes you and Dad had switched sides. I didn't understand why. Like, on the night you died, you were on Dad's side. I hated watching you die. Dad tried to get me out of the room, but I stood there frozen, saying over and over, it's just a dream, it's just a dream, it's just a dream. But I saw how your eyes had moved up where I could only see white and your mouth was turning blue. And it wasn't a dream. There is a never saw me grow into being a girl, learning how to wear makeup and dresses, and finding out I could be an athlete and a girl at the same time. As I grew older, I actually figured out that being a girl has its advantages and power. I've always had handsome men in my life. I even married one. He's smart. You would have liked him. I'm just as smart as I always was, always A's and always the leader in the group. And I'm still goofy and witty and move fast, but I will never know if this is how you envisioned me in the future. I hope I've made you proud. As a family, we never spoke of you after you died. I don't know why either, but someone wrote us a letter after you passed away. I don't remember who it was, except that they knew you. They wrote that Marilyn was always so proud of being a mother to her 4 kids. She loved them all so much. Whoever authored that letter had no idea how often I would hang on those 2 sentences. They were the lifelines that connected me to my mom when the world had forgotten her. When no one brought up her name or acted like she ever existed. I thank them for giving me my personal, though invisible rope of hope and sanity. And Mom, I thank you for bringing me into the world and being my mom for 11 years. I wish I'd had more. Even at 66 years old, I missed you just like I did at 11. Nobody knows that but me. Now that will be our little secret. I love you, Mom. P.S. I'm strong, courageous, and resilient. Losing you gave me those traits. Letter writer from Santa Barbara, California.
Dear Pat, every Sunday afternoon, whether I wanted to or not, Mom and Dad drag me to your house for a visit. We always find you one of 2 places, either on your stool in the living room rooting for the Pittsburgh Pirates, who rarely win, or holding court at the head of the kitchen table. You should be a football player, you say every Sunday without fail between sips of your Pabst Blue Ribbon beer. You should be a football player. You're not totally wrong. Even as a child, I am broad-shouldered and barrel-chested, perfect build for a football lineman. Week after week, you should be a football player. But I can't. I'm not like other boys. I hate getting dirty. I don't like to roughhouse. I'm uncoordinated and awkward. I despise sports. Finally, I hear you should be a football player. One time too many. And this is the catalyst, the straw that breaks the camel's back. I break. I don't want to be a football player, Pap, I shout. I want to read and to paint and to write. Silence. These things, art and learning and literature, have no meaning, no place in your world, unless it's a shoot-'em-up Western by Zane Grey, the only books I ever saw you read. Worse still, reading, painting, and writing are not football. From this point on, you call me the professor. And you don't say it as a compliment. You spit it out like a curse, or slur it, depending on how many Pabst Blue Ribbons you've had. Either way, it hurts. And it makes me feel just like when the kids at school call me faggot. The funny thing is that It's like somehow you know my secret, my shame, even long before I know it has a name. That is, other than faggot, a word that I also hear you say, along with a lot of other disparaging terms about all kinds of people of different races and religions. It was an education I did not want. To win back your favor, I bring him my newspaper clippings of my school accomplishments, art show prizes, honor roll, essay contest ribbons. He puts down his smoldering, unfiltered Pall Mall and, with fingers stained orange from nicotine, takes out his old, beaten leather wallet on a chain. I can't believe it. You're going to reward me for my triumphs. But instead of a 5 or a 10 from your wallet, you pull out your newspaper clippings, folded and yellow with age, faded and crumbling. The police blotter. Arrests from your younger days. Drunk and disorderly, public intoxication, driving under the influence, domestic abuse. I knew nothing of these things, and somehow you are as proud of these achievements as I am of mine. How is that even possible, Pat? Then and there I decide I don't need your admiration. I do not want your love. I will never be a football player, and at that moment I vowed never to be like you. So today, on the anniversary of your passing, I'm thinking about you. And I am writing to thank you. Yes. To thank you, Pat. Thank you for how you inadvertently shaped my life. Everything I am, a non-smoking, a bourbon-drinking, accepting of all people, out and proud writer. It's all because of you. All because, you see, I kept that vow never to be like you. So thanks, Pat, for giving me a life you would never approve of. A life I love. Sincerely, your grandson. Letter writer from Johnstown, Pennsylvania.
Darling, though we have never met, I believe that one day we will. I believe that the day when we meet, we will feel a bolt of lightning. Maybe we won't admit it right away, not even to ourselves, but the feelings, the love, the passion will be there just the same. We'll share a love of animals, especially dogs, old movies, and Christmas. Most of all, we will love one another with all of our hearts. We will be there for one another no matter what. Our love will be the kind that lasts, the kind that is true. Our love will be the kind that makes dancing feel like flying and singing more than words. It will be full of warmth and excitement. It will be one of a kind. We will never consider it average. We will have a connection that no one could ever break or come between. We will have much in common, but we'll still be able to learn from one another. We will push each other to be better people and to expand the way we view the world. We will challenge each other in the best way possible. When our lips touch, it will be like no one else exists. It will be full of fireworks and butterflies. It will be full of so much love and passion. When our eyes meet, there will be a connection. We will feel like we could gaze at one another for forever. We will never long for another. We will always be enough for each other, more than enough. We will have the type of relationship that everyone dreams of, but isn't really sure if it exists. We will be able to say, I'm sorry, and learn from our mistakes. We will be willing to hear the other person's side of the matter. We might not always agree with one another, as that's a part of life, but we will respect the other person's feelings. Making up will be so wonderful, it will almost make it worth the arguing. We will help one another through the bad times and celebrate the good. We will always be there to pick the other up and support them through a crisis. We will be there to help and support each other, but never take over. Our love will be old-fashioned. It will have a certain charm and beauty. It will be like a classic, never going out of style. I pray for the day that our paths cross and our lives change forever and our lives are forever and most beautifully changed. With all my love, Blue Eyes, letter writer from Oklahoma.
Dear Tiny Beautiful Letter Project, I'm 15 years old, and I'm completely in love with a jacket. Not just any jacket, but before I get to that, let me give you a little context. I promise it won't take long. I'll start at my birth. I was born to two teenagers who weren't ready to be parents. So from day one, my maternal grandparents raised me. I live with them and my three aunts in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. My grandfather works as a janitor. My grandmother cleans a courthouse. I try not to ask for things that I know we can't afford. Being 15 and wanting money to spend, I got a part-time job at a bakery in Soho. And one day, walking to work, I spotted in a boutique window the black leather jacket to end all jackets. And I know I must have it. One problem, it cost $300. I only had 50 saved. I'm gonna need help. Enter Aunt Helen. My Aunt Helen is kind, smart, and beautiful. But the thing I admire about her the most, she has credit cards. I asked if she'll charge the jacket for me and let me pay her back over time. Without hesitation, she agrees, and the coveted jacket is in my possession. I love this jacket. And after weeks of aching feet and flour under my nails, I repay Aunt Helen, and the sense of accomplishment is amazing. A few weeks later, I'm getting ready to go to school, and the jacket is gone. It's not in my closet, not by the front door. I ask around, no one's seen it. This is strange. But I'm running late, so I grab a different jacket and head out. But all day, I'm distracted. Where could it be? Then, on the subway ride home, it hits me. My mom visited yesterday. My mother has a drug problem. My mother stole my jacket. My mother, like most addicts, has mastered the art of making things disappear. Once I realize what's happened, I tell Aunt Helen. She offers to drive me to my mother, who lives nearby with my three younger siblings. When we pull up, I tell my aunt I want to go in alone. Walking up to the apartment, I realize I have no idea what I'm going to say. One thing I do know, after this, my relationship with my mother will never be the same. The door is slightly ajar. I step inside the small, sparsely furnished apartment and make my way to the back. My mother's in the kids' room, kneeling at the foot of the bed, assembling it. Now, without turning to look at me, she says she saw my aunt's car pull up. I asked what she's doing. She says the kids are at a movie and she's switching rooms with them. She still hasn't looked at me. Speaking to the back of her head, I ask point blank, "Did you take my jacket?" She stops, stands, turns, and the tears come instantly. She apologizes
I knew my father would be late picking me up, and I couldn't have been happier. My parents had no idea I had gone to the movies with a boy, let alone a 16-year-old kid from my town. I was 13 at the time. Standing outside as we waited for our rides, I asked him if he liked the movie. It was 2007, and we saw the remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Jake shrugged his shoulders and pushed back his hair with his right hand. I loved it. I love Nicole Kidman, I said, trying to keep the conversation going. I said whatever I could to keep his attention. As he stared back at me with those pale blue eyes, I realized there was nothing in them. No mercy or emotion. Just a sophomore who wanted to be anywhere else but here with me. Somehow, I still thought that maybe, if I told him how I felt, the outcome would be different, that life would appear in those eyes. It started to rain, and the movie theater that the mall was in was closed. We stood close together underneath the edge of the building to stay dry. The sun was setting, and so was this moment. I knew it would never happen again. Jake, I spoke his name nervously. I adjusted my glasses and kept my tone serious. Can I tell you something? He looked at me confused, but maybe a part of him already knew what I was going to say. I love hanging out with you. Every time we talk, I feel happy. I think I like you. Maybe I, too, knew what he was going to say. Thank you for that, but I don't like you in that way. My heart sank. Those pale blue eyes became an ocean, and I was drowning in them. God, the rain kept beating down just like his words. I only date blonde girls, he added with finality. Then, that sadness turned into anger. But before I could say something back, his mom arrived to pick him up. He said goodbye and left. I walked the 5 minutes in the rain to my father waiting for me in our 2006 Pontiac minivan. He didn't even ask how the movie was. Instead, with my crying baby sister in the back seat, complained about how selfish I was for going out when we only had one car. We stopped at the Big Y, and my dad gave me a speech about how we only had $40 left for groceries. As we walked to the deli counter, my heart was falling out of my chest. I was crying, and all I could hear from my father was how I wouldn't be going to the movies anytime soon again, and that I better have enjoyed it. There was no money for movies. Leona Lewis's hit song, Bleeding Love, started playing on the radio. My blood was invisible. Letter writer from Portland, Oregon.
Dear you, has it truly been so long? When did we meet? 14 years ago, I guess it was? And now we haven't seen each other in at least 10. Is it possible that we only knew one another for 4 years? But how much do those 4 years matter to you? For me, I can't stop thinking about it. I think you would say the same if I dared to ask. But opening that door again, making that phone call, sending that text just to say, darling, I'm thinking of you, but I shouldn't. I think about you in the fall, when we had met. Everything feels timeless in LA, but you know that, you grew up there. I was a temporary resident, and without that, there would have been no you, no us. But what were we exactly? Lovers? Friends? Something undefinable and in between. And it was in that hazy pink something that my life changed because of you. Your smile, keen eyes, confidence that I saw falter time and again. Not often, you would never allow that, but with me maybe. You were closed off at times, always hiding something, though I'm sure I know what it was. The only thing stopping us from truly being everything to one another, and I think it scared you. It scared me. So maybe it's better that we weren't ever really truly able to, but no, that can't be right. You wouldn't agree with me, would you? Only if you believed it, but no, it was there. We were right together. I saw it in your eyes, but you wouldn't let yourself. I think about you now in the spring, which I shouldn't. Fall was our time, I think. But here I am, rainy days and flowers growing, and new beginnings of which you are not one. You'd be an old beginning, but given the 10 years, a new start. Too bad I'm not looking for that anymore. There's something in the rain, in the rebirth of it, of the earth moving forward, and yes, changing, that makes me hopeful for you, that maybe something in your life is happy. That maybe, if there are alternate timelines, we've met there, and we've started up again, and you're in it fully, and I am too. The things are how they could have been had I not left, and 10 years hadn't passed, and we weren't who we are now. You know where I am, don't you? I'm sure you've done a Google search, right? I mean, come on, of course you have. I hope, because what I'm getting at, what I'm trying to ask throughout this entire letter, what it's all coming down to is, do you miss me? Because I miss you, and what we could have been. So, I can't sign this with my name, but you know well enough, if you saw this, if you cared. Roger that, lawyer. Love, you know me. Letter writer from Ohio.
To the ship with a hole in it. You were the best story I never had to write. I asked myself where we went wrong. I guess I was running when you were walking. Then briefly you ran with me, and for a moment we collided. You didn't know this, but I had never collided with any man before. I never let any man in before. I never let anyone touch me. It was after that collision that I kept running, but you stopped. I didn't notice, and I ran off a fucking cliff. As I was holding onto the edge, you looked down upon me. You grabbed my hand, but instead of pulling me up, you let me go, and I fell unexpectedly hard. Did you ever care? Or was I just some lost 23-year-old to you? If you did care, why did you just let go of me? To the ship with a hole in it. I was so hurt when you told me it would be inevitable that we would stop talking. Nothing is inevitable unless you make it. I tried to understand the meaning behind meeting you. Was I meant to fall so that I could learn? Then I wonder what would have happened if we didn't collide. I know that our boat would eventually have sunk. You were too old for me and I was too young for you, but can we pretend for a moment it won't? Ships with holes can still sail for a little while. My friends tell me some things can't be fixed. Sometimes they're just broken and you have to forget and move on. The only problem is I don't want to forget you. I want you to know that in my mind there is a war and intense guilt about missing you at all. I shouldn't miss you. It's been years and I still think about you. Do you ever think about me as you sit at your computer? You drink your coffee at 3 and 6. In the 3 minutes it takes you to wait for it to cool down so you can take a sip. In that silence, do you ever think of me? No one in the office suspected a thing. There's a moment where I swear I knew you my whole life or lives before. Is that real? Knowing people in past lives? Somehow I understood, even if I did know you before, we would never have a happy ending. To the ship with a hole in it. You brought out my tragic flaw. I have a hard time letting go. I never overanalyze. I did not calculate every step. Now at the edge of 30, you're a wound in my chest that has never healed. I did learn something from you when I was 23, that things fall apart and that I have to let go of those who let go of me. To this ship with a hole in it, you were the story I never had to write. I guess some stories are better felt than told. If you were an emotion, then you would have been in grief. To our ship in the ocean, I wish we could have sailed. I tell myself, best not to look back for you. But I always do. Letter writer from Portland, Oregon.
Dearest person of the universe, I am writing this letter to tell you that you matter and are loved. When you were born and took your first breath before opening your eyes, you were precious. You were perfect from the time you were conceived. The years spent at home, school, work, marriage, parenting, traveling, and self-exploration have molded you into a sentient being. Your experiences with success and failures are life's lesson plans that makes you be the best human being, or beats you up. The fear of failure can create a wall in front of you, and you don't grow to your potential, or you climb over the wall and get back up and believe that you're good enough to keep going and reach the goal. Take a deep breath. Start to climb up and keep looking forward, and let the fear disappear behind you. Every day you say to yourself, I believe in me, and I can do this. It's like the first time on a high diving board, and you inched forward on the narrow board that is gritty texture underneath your white feet. You place both feet at the edge and look down at the clear blue pool water, and take a deep breath. Push off away from the board and jump feet first with your body in perfect form to enter the water and make a splash. The feeling of being in the cold water, sinking down, and then you push your body up with your kicking feet and pull it to the surface with both arms. And when your head is above the water line, you open your eyes to see where you are in the pool. You take a big breath. The fear and apprehension are gone. You are smiling and joyful, swimming to the ladder. You take a break, dry yourself off with a warm towel, and prepare to do it again. The second time around, it's different, because you know what to expect, and the fear is not present. You had fun and felt good about yourself. You are maybe older now as you're reading my letter and thinking, I'm too old to jump off the high diving board. I'm not a kid anymore. My dearest person of the universe, I want you to close your eyes and relive the feeling of that moment, and replay it in your mind and see if you smile thinking about it again. Whenever you are feeling that fear of failure, remember to climb up the wall and get back up. Take a deep breath and reset your mind and keep in motion. Please don't sit behind a wall. I hope this letter made you laugh or cry. My intention was to wake you up with emotion and know that you matter. We are all part of this beautiful universe. There's so much joy to experience if you let go of fear. If you need me, read this letter again. Love, your friend. Letter writer from New York.
Grief, I found, is living in an in-between place. Not the before the death world, and not completely in the after death world. It's a pause between what was and what is coming, and contains a deeper embodied awareness of the precociousness of each moment in a physical body, and how there is no knowing how long that will be. Grieving has not been full of presence, it's often full of absence, although the essence of presence is seeping in bit by bit. How do we, hold presence with deep absence? One thing I found, kindness. Kindness often brings me to presence, even if only for a moment. Big or teeny, a hand on my back, a hug, a kind quirk, someone gesturing me to go at a four-way stop, a song sent, a sweet email, an offer to connect, a loving voice on the other end of the phone, a car stopping to let me cross the road, eye contact expressing, I see you, brings blinking eyes, streaming rivulets of tears down my face. In those moments, I feel it all. Crying is a love language after all, one I am very familiar with. The last days of his life keep me company in the darker hours and guide me back to the deepest curiosities around how to walk more tenderly, more compassionately, more fiercely kind in a world of visible and invisible, soul and human, soil and stars, birth and death, all of creation, and most of all, love. And so, life is this moment in time, this breath. With deep care, your friend in grief and joy. Letter writer from Deschutes, Oregon. And with that, my friends, that concludes this iteration of our Tiny Beautiful Letter Project. I want to give special recognition to Bola, Barb, John, Diane for giving voice to these anonymous letters, and my sincere appreciations for each of you taking time in your afternoon to join us today. I also encourage you to come see Rabbit Hole if you haven't yet. It's a phenomenal show. We have 6 performances. One of them is happening tonight at 7 p.m. I also want to invite you to partake in our art gallery, as well as any of the other immersive event programming that we have to offer with the production. But thank you all so much.